I grew up in northwestern part of Wisconsin, and the nearest Muslim population is like 2 hours away. We grew up in a non-denominational family, and so technically, yeah, my mother's side of the family was Methodist, and my father's side of the family was Lutheran, but my since I was raised by my mother, and my father and mother divorced when I was 1, so I didn't get a chance to have that family environment. So we may have believed in God, but we never really mentioned anything about God. We were non-denominational, so we didn't go to church or anything like that. And I guess there was one time I went to when I was a kid growing up. My friend asked me to come to church with her, and I was like, okay, I'll go to church, So I went to church with her, and as soon as my mom found out, she drugged me out. And but my father's side, like with my grandmother, she's a strict Lutheran, so she tried to for birthdays and Christmas and everything, she tried her best to she'd give me some maybe crosses or some Christian books or whatever type of thing. Yeah, I mean, I may hold them or I may wear them or I may read them, but not. Of course, I was still a kid growing up. I was nothing was really hitting me. About a month before my 14th birthday, we finally got a computer at our house, which other people in my classroom already at school already had computers, at their houses, and I felt like I'm the only one that didn't have a computer. So we finally get a computer, and so if I ever have to do homework, I can finally do homework instead of borrowing a little computer from school and bring it home and do my homework, which kind of makes you feel like, oh, you're nothing, And so we finally get a computer, get all excited. I seen my brother download Yahoo Messenger and MSN Messenger, and so I was like, okay, me at 13, almost 14, I'm in the exploration stage. And I knew at that time, yeah, I was starting. Okay, I want to search for something. I'm starting to be interested in religion and whatnot, and just I guess trying to find the right one. And so I just was randomly, going through different chat rooms, and I went into this one chat room. I don't think it even was an Islamic chat room, but I think it was just some kind of chat room. I don't remember which one. But at that time, I was, fascinated with cultures and people from different countries and everything else. Especially ever since I learned what my ancestry is, when I was 9 years old. We had to do a little homework assignment on that. That ask to, I guess, write what your ancestral background is. So finally found out, okay, I'm half Norwegian and Swedish and British and Irish and German and Dutch. I met this one brother. He was a Sunni Pakistani brother that lived in Dubai, and he told me his name and told me that he was a Muslim. Mind you, this is 2 years after 9/11. So even after 9/11, I never even heard of the word Muslim or Islam or anything like that. I might not have been 100% actively looking, but kind of you had that. You finally got the curious side of things, you want to check different things out, and well, if religion is one of them, okay, religion is one of them, you find out whether it's religion or culture or whatever, so you're in the exploration stage. So I guess I stumbled across, religion, and and one of the people, when the guy told me that he was Muslim, I was like, what is that, and he told me, basics of Islam and what Islam is about, and me and him were talking for about a good about month and a half, 2 months, and then at the time I finally met a couple more, Muslims, on Yahoo Messenger. It's when they used to have chat rooms, and so, and this time, a couple of them, yeah, might have been across the world, but a few of them were here in USA, and one of them I had a little bit more connection to because I guess he was in Chicago, and so he wasn't that far away from me compared to the other people, and so so they were all telling me about Islam, and by that time it's already December of 2003, and because when I first started my exploration into Islam, when I was first introduced, it was September of 2003, and so here it is, December 2003, and the people I met online, they finally sent me some books and some materials, and with me, I'm a person that likes to read, and so I opened up the first book, and I was reading, and I was sitting next to my mom while she was on the computer, and I would read to her too, and about Islam. Then about a month before I converted to Islam, I decided after that much reading, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop eating pork now, and I never really did like pork anyway, probably. Of course, this is probably before we found out about beef and chicken hot dogs, so that's probably the only thing that I missed was the hot dogs, and so I was like, okay. But there was one time where my mom, like after my week of not eating pork, all of a sudden my mom like made this one dish, and she kind of like knew I couldn't like resist eating it, so I ate it, and she's like, oh, I knew you couldn't do it, type of thing, and but after that, I never had another bite of pork after that, and then when it came to March of 2004, about a week before I converted to Islam, I had this kind of like regular kind of like winter scarf that you put around your neck. I kind of put on my head, since I didn't have anything, bigger, and so I put on my head, to practice, see what it feels like, and then after like that week was up, it was on a Saturday, March 20th of 2004, and that's when I decided I'm I was talking to a brother from Chicago, and I was like saying, okay, I'm gonna go finally go to the masjid today, which is about a 2-hour drive for me, and I mean, of course, for me, you're thinking everything's open, but of course, I guess at that time, since it's a small Muslim community, the masjid is not open, normally on Saturdays, and so. But I had the secretary of the masjid's number, so I gave him a call, and I'm like, I'm like, here at the masjid, I want to, come in, right? But before that, when I was talking to the brother on the phone, I was telling him I want to go to the masjid. He was saying that, well, before you do that, I want you to convert to Islam. I was like, okay, I guess I just needed that push, I mean, I probably wouldn't even have thought about converting or not converting. I mean, it just never came to me. Otherwise, I probably would have just been reading till today, and because I guess I didn't know there was such thing as probably like conversions and everything else. I'm like, okay, and so he called up another brother, to be the witness to my shahada, and while I was saying the shahada, and I was repeating after him the shahada, and I was getting like goosebumps all over my body and everything else. Here it is, like 9 a.m. in the morning on Saturday, and so after that, like we hung up, like promptly after that, and I go downstairs and I tell my mom, oh, I converted to Islam, like right away, and of course right away she got mad at me, and she's like started yelling at me and everything else, and I was like, and but after about an hour, because we did have plans to go to the masjid anyway, we both agreed. And after an hour, she calmed down, and we got ready, and we left for the masjid. And so when we arrived at the masjid, found out it's closed. So I called the secretary of the masjid, and I was like, "We're at the masjid, but it's closed." I guess he only lived maybe a couple minutes away. So so he came to the masjid, opened it up, kind of gave us a little tour around. Very small, but still, it's something. So so my mom was telling me in the car on their way there that she said, "Oh, I want to convert to Islam too." It's like, okay, and so so we went to the masjid, toured around, and before we were about to leave, we were in the masjid area, and I was like, "Oh, my mom wants to convert to Islam too." So, he said the shahada to her, and she repeated it, and so before we left, he gave us, a Quran that was from the masjid, and I guess a book holder for the Quran, and I guess one of those how to pray books that I guess they had laying around. Like, okay, so of course right away I went into like, okay, reading the Quran and the commentary first. So even till this day, I'm still yet to finish reading the Quran for the first time, after 11 years of being Muslim, and because I'm taking my time and reading it, trying to get it all in depth first, and then maybe after I finish reading the Quran with the commentary, then I'll like just read it normally, right? And so I think it's going to be like a big milestone for me once I finish reading them for the first time. But that was my part of Islam, of converting to Islam. Then, of course, when I first converted to Islam, I first became a Sunni, Muslim. Then 9 months later, became a Shia Muslim. When I first converted to Islam, I guess, especially for a new Muslim, the very important time for a new Muslim, I guess, is in the first few months, of Islam. And so when I converted, I was doing my own reading probably for a good a month or two. And in that time, I met a Sunni imam back in Florida, and I think I met him over chat or something like that. I don't remember how I met him, but I met him, and me and him became really good friends. We started talking. He was helping me with memorizing surahs and everything. He wouldn't get off the phone until I memorized the surah, and so I could be on the phone for a good 2 hours until I memorized that surah, and so we'd be talking, and then at that time, since I got really involved into Islam and praying and doing all that stuff, to the best of my ability, I told him, I want to. I was interested in, I want to go to, an Islamic school, and so found about this Islamic school, I guess down in Chicago, strict Islamic school, I guess, you have to dress a certain way and act a certain way. Then I finally get there in beginning of August, of 2004. I was there for boarding, so I stayed there, all day and all night, because it's boarding school. I realized quickly, especially after about a week being there, I didn't quite like the surroundings in my area. It felt more like a prison to me, because it's mainly like Desi Islamic school, so it was like really strict. You had like barbed wire fence, around the school. They were saying, oh, that's keeping the people outside coming in, but to me it's like, oh, you're like keeping me in, and they would lock the gates at night, and on top of locking the gates at night, they would lock all the doors around the building. It's like, and even if I wanted to go outside in the middle of the night, I can't, and there's been a few times where I seen, okay, the gate open. I just stepped maybe 10 feet outside the gate. They're telling me to come back inside. You know, I was like, we're across the street from a graveyard. There's nobody in sight. We're like in the middle of nowhere, and you're telling me to come back inside. And it's like, makes me feel like a prisoner. So I only lasted about like a month and a half there, and I left. And so shortly after I left, and came back home to Wisconsin. I went back into Yahoo Messenger, and I met this one Indian brother. He lived in India at the time, and that's when he mentioned that he's a Bohra Shia. I'm like, you know, what's Shia? And I never heard. It's like from back from day one. I'm like, what's Islam? What's Muslim? I was like, what's Shia? You know, I never heard of that. And so he was telling me, you know, what Shia Islam is about, and I was like, oh, okay, you know. And then when I mean, he only got maybe on the bare basics, and then I don't know, when I was like, okay, I want to learn more. He's like, before I do that, I have to get permission from my leader or whatever type of thing. And I guess we were like waiting forever, and in the meantime, while we were waiting, I met this Iranian Shia brother, you know, of the Isna Ashari at a university there or something like that. But he, to the best of his English ability, he was trying to, you know, tell me about Shia Islam, and he was talking to me for a while, and then he finally sent me, like, you know, in the course of maybe a couple of months, he sent me probably a couple boxes of books, and so the first book I picked up, you know, was really like the Know Your Islam type of book, you know. So stuff kind of I already know, but kind of also a little touch of bases about basic Shia Islam. And so I read that, and like, okay, you know. But then then the second book I picked up was Then I Was Guided. And so I picked up that book, and I read it all the way through, and as soon as I got done reading that, I was like, I know, I want to become a Shia Muslim, you know. And so I looked up online, you know, at the Shia.org under the Islamic organizations there, and and so I looked up, you know, like the nearest Shia organization to me, and yeah, you had Minneapolis, and then you had Chicago. Those are like the two closest ones to me. Like, okay, I'm looking through all the names, and like 99% of them were just regular names, and like I want to like talk to like an imam or something like that, you know, because at the time I didn't know, you know, what I didn't know, like, okay, the Shias are the Shia leaders are called Molanas and whatnot. So of course, you know, at that time I'm still at the imam stage, you know, like I'm looking for someone that has like a title, you know. So I finally found only one person out of the entire list that had a title, you know, and that was the Molana here at IEC Husseini in Chicago, and Molana Sayyid Mahbub Mehdi. And I was like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna call him. And I guess it was his own, I guess, personal cell phone number, you know, that was on the website. So I called him up. It's like, you know, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and so I call him up, you know, I'm in my room and everything else, you know, no one can hear me. And so I was talking to him, and I was saying how, like, I just got done reading Then I Was Guided, and I was like, oh, I want to know, when to become a Shia, how do you become a Shia? He's like, oh, since you already said the Shahada, just say Ashhadu anna Aliyyun waliyullah. Like, okay. So instead of that, he's like, okay, now you're a Shia, you know. And so when the Iranian brother sent me some books, he also sent me some materials too, like, you know, like a turba. And so I got along with the books, I had the How to Pray book too. So I started reading from that book, and that's how I started praying the Shia way. And but of course, the first month after converting to Shia Islam, I was still at the, like, transition stage in a way, where like you're like, you still have your Sunni people who you're talking to online, trying to say, stay a Sunni, and trying to pull you both ways. And here I am, I'm being torn apart, I'm being all confused, and I'm like, which. So I called up Mullah, and I'm like, say something to me that that will keep me on the path of Shia Islam, because to them all the confusion. Because at times I would be praying the Shia way, and then at other times I may be praying the Sunni way. So I was literally like doing both ways, and so I don't know what he said to me. I don't remember what he said to me, but he said something, and from that day on, I never looked back at Sunni Islam again. So when I first converted to Shia Islam, which was in December 2004, about 9 months after I converted to Sunni Islam, then of course, since I had my How to Pray the Shia Way book and the turba and everything, since I was isolated generally from any type of Muslim community, Sunni or Shia. And so I was doing it for the first few years, and then about 4 years of being Muslim, then I finally got a chance to move to Chicago. And so when I moved to Chicago, I was about half an hour away from the near Shia community. So I went there, as much as I could, which is not very often, since at the time I didn't have a car or anything, and I didn't know any Shias at the time in the community except Molana, and I was like, but I think he gave me like maybe a number to someone, and they might have picked me up a couple of times, and I went there a few times, but things got a little bit more better after I moved to a different place, and I finally got my own car, and so I went there a little bit more than I did when I first moved to Chicago, and but of course many times, probably even till today, even after 11 years, whenever I go there, I mean, I don't know about the other couple of converts that might be there, IEC, I don't know about them, but I know for me, I don't feel that as much accepted there, it's like, since it's majority, if not all, Daisies there, and I feel like whenever I go, I'm like the only white person there, and I don't have everyone coming to me and having me be introduced or anything like that. It's just they're with their clique, and I'm just isolated by myself. That I started going there. That I made friends with, I guess, Milana's wife at the time. Majority of the people, I guess, didn't want to really associate with her too much. Even though, yeah, they may say their salams to her, but for one, yeah, she's not Daisy, she's Iraqi, and at the same time, to them, they think that she's too religious for them, because she's dressing with a proper hijab and jilbab, abaya, and they, of course, with the women, they just dress their normal shawl kameez, no proper hijab way type of thing. After maybe a couple of years of being in Chicago, I finally started wearing the jilbab along with my hijab, because before that I was just wearing the long sleeve shirt and long pants, and so I finally started wearing the jilbab, and of course that doesn't even make anything any better, in a way where, of course, now I'm just isolating myself even more, It's like, now I have to find a group of people that would accept me, what I'm wearing now, and now I'm not dressing like they are. I enjoyed reading the stories of the Ahl Bayt, you know, and not anyone specific or anything, but I may like, you know, compare to, like, you know, some of them, you know, I may have maybe some similar situations in some ways, and so you have that kind of little connection on that part, and so no, it's like I guess an undescribable feeling. It's not something that you can really like describe. It's just there. You just know it. Just have that feeling.